Right now we're joined by columnist and New York Times bestselling author and all-around great gal, Ann Coulter. Ann, thanks for joining us today.
Great to be here. Good to talk to you, Larry.
It's Fridays at 4. That means it's time for Ann Coulter.
Yes.
I'm sure you've seen that we are ground zero right now here in the greater Washington area for the failed sanctuary policies, as we now have, I believe, up 6 in the last 2 weeks, 6 illegal aliens arrested for some kind of sex crime in beautiful Montgomery County, Maryland, and they still double down on their policies. They say it's making us safer, Ann.
Everything about immigration is an Orwellian lie, beginning with diversity is a strength. Never been a strength in the history of the world. I mean, think about your marriage. You'd want to marry someone totally different from you, because that always works out well. Also, I'm not beyond Montgomery County, that hideous crime, that woman who was knifed to death outside a hospital up in Northwest Washington.
Yeah.
That was an immigrant too. Oh no, I'm sorry. That was a refugee.
Right.
That was a refugee. Sometimes they're persecuted in their own countries for a reason.
Well, but we've got
who shot up the El Al. Oh no, I'm sorry. El Al Counter was a diversity lottery winner.
Yeah.
Because that's worked out fantastically well for us. But there was a separate guy whom I also think was an Egyptian, who went to the top of the Empire State Building and shot a couple of kids, putting one permanently in a home. He can't function as an adult anymore. I think the other one was killed, and wherever he was from, whether it was Egypt or Saudi Arabia, it turned out the government was desperately trying to warn us about this guy.
Yeah, amazing how that works.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they're here. There's a reason why they're coming here. And I gotta ask, I mean, especially as this is it's making national news, these policies, in any way will this move the needle on this stuff? Is there any way that this will actually cross beyond partisan lines where just normal Americans can step up and say, yeah, we don't want these people here?
Well, I sort of think Americans keep saying that.
Well, fair point.
For 30 years. They just elected Donald Trump. And I noticed my favorite viewing, of course, MSNBC. So 2 nights ago, Rachel Maddow's big thing was to weep. You never see her so sad unless a vicious murderer is being given capital punishment. She's weeping about these illegal aliens with it's horrible. I feel bad for anyone with horrible medical conditions, incurable cancer, exotic diseases, but they come here and get all their treatment courtesy of you, taxpayer. Not sure if you knew that or you voted for it. And I'm watching this, and I don't care how much weeping she does, and showing of these sad stories. The little, Guatemalan with incurable stomach cancer, and she's going to die if she gets deported, and Trump wants to deport her. And I'm thinking, aren't even liberals watching this thinking, what about my health care? I mean, we just spent years hearing about how Americans are being bankrupted by their hospital bills, and still somehow Obamacare didn't solve it. So now we need an all-new program. That's what they're all running on. I mean, it is true. Insurance prices are through the roof. Medical expenses are through the roof. Can we pay for our own people first? I mean, I can't imagine anything so stupid, other than just putting a free money sign on our border all over the place. Free medical treatment for whatever your very, very astronomically expensive medical treatment is, free here in America. How about free medical care for Americans?
That would make Rachel Maddow weep as well, I think. Either way, Rachel Maddow's going to weep for us.
I think my guess on that even liberals are scratching their heads saying, well, yeah, I feel for these people. Because the next night, last night that is to say, she was still talking about them, but it was an all-new argument this time, which is an hilarious argument. This time, they're being given experimental treatments.
Yeah.
So fantastic. Step 2 is we're using the illegals as human guinea pigs.
Right. Right. That used to be an atrocity and a war crime. You would have a Nuremberg trial over that, but here we're actually celebrating it.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Either they're getting free medical care that ought to be extended to Americans first, or we're engaging in Nazi experimentation on these illegals.
Ann Coulter's our guest, and of course her book Adios America is one of the seminal books of our time and incredibly relevant in our political conversations. In fact, I just had a debate with the former Attorney General of Maryland who maintained to me that, in his words, immigrants commit crimes in America at a far smaller rate than native-born Americans. And I know that you've got, how many footnotes on that statistic in your book, Anne? Why don't you blast it for me?
It is such a lie. It is a complete lie. Everything the media says about immigration is a lie, but that is the biggest lie, and they just say it over and over again. What's their backup for it? Well, because Cato Institute said it. What's Cato's backup? Some professor said it. Does anyone have any stats, any information? No, it's just something they say, like diversity is a strength, over and over again. The evidence is overwhelming that, just look at what we don't collect those stats.
Right. He's defending a policy.
Adios America. I think it's very important for listeners to know. Only one side of this debate keeps saying, can we please count them?
Right. All right. Exactly. They're defending a policy that dictates that they're not even allowed to ask someone in their custody for, arresting them for a crime. You're not allowed to ask them their immigration status. And then they come back and say, and by the way, the statistics show that they commit crimes at a lower rate. Well, you're purposely not asking them their immigration status.
Yes. We won't ask this so we can keep lying to people.
Exactly.
The alleged studies that exist, you may see reference to these studies. They're all behind paywalls. You can see how many people have read them. It's like 2 people until I started writing about it, and Dennis Prager spent the money because he didn't believe what the truth of the matter was. They were comparing immigrants. This isn't just illegal immigrants. They were comparing immigrants, their crime offending rates, to Americans who have been convicted of a felony.
That doesn't seem like an apples-to-apples comparison. Now, I'm no statistician, Ann Coulter, and I didn't go to Harvard, but it seems to me that that's not really a true comparison to reach a result that is then repeated endlessly by the media and politicians for decades.
Yes, Dennis Prager thought, oh, come on, I know liberals are sneaky, but Ann's making this up. So he sprung for the $40 to read the study, and I went on his radio show, and he said, damned if you weren't right.
There you go. All right, well, listen, I know Dennis, I'm going to ask him to lend it to me because I ain't going to spend the $40. But you should spend the money to get Adios America and every other one of Ann Coulter's books. You have a great Labor Day weekend, by the way, Ann.
Thank you. You too, Larry
Thanks for
O'Connor.
joining us, as always, Fridays at 4 with Ann Coulter.